Okay, 2016 Grizzly 700. This is the second one that we've had. We're going to use this bike for testing the dual exhaust that Barker's made up for us. Right now it's got my fuel controller on it, stock exhaust tip, stock air box. We've done a couple sample runs right now with just the fuel controller versus no fuel controller. This one followed the same route as what we did with the other 16. They're just very lean from the factory. I made about 8 videos before and they all came out like garbage on the initial test, and I said I was going to show you guys. Basically I'm going to combine everything into maybe 2 videos now, a little before the scene stuff and then one after with the duals on there so you can see how it sounds. This bike so far we've tested stock exhaust configuration, no fuel controller, and then stock exhaust with a tip, no controller, and then stock exhaust with a tip and a fuel controller. Right now the tip makes 1.5 horsepower, leans it out a little bit less, or I guess actually more than it did. The fuel controller picked it up with the tip, an additional 2 to 2.5 horsepower over it with no fuel controller. Right now it's pulling about 36 horsepower peak with just the tip, 37 with the fuel controller and the tip, but it was closer to 2 horsepower in the over rev. We did a little testing with the IAC valve, which I'm going to show you in this video of how it actually affects your air to fuel ratio, because I know somebody had brought that up, which is very marginal again. Basically it works off of suction. It feeds fresh air back into the exhaust stream to raise your EGTs, but it's only at very minor throttle positions. After that, the valve basically closes itself and it just becomes non-existent. We're talking about a half a point on the air to fuel ratio scale of what it actually affects. At idle, it's kind of hard to read the way we got our sniffer in. When we did our original videos, we had the sniffer stuff way up in the exhaust through the cat, and we got a lot better accurate readings, and that was how we did all our fuel controller design work for it. Right now, it's probably only hanging out up into here just past the baffle plate. We got a stock tip on it so we can actually capture all the gases that are in there, because otherwise they release too fast unless you get it up into the header. Gives us relatively air. It's going to read a little bit leaner because it's getting a little suction of fresh air from the back right in by the sensor. But I'll show you guys a little bit of the air to fuel ratio on it with and without the controller and with the AIS system blocked off, which on the airbox is this port right here. It basically goes up to a valve up in there and then goes back over to the exhaust port on the opposite side. Inside here, there's a compartment in your airbox where your intake air temperature sensor comes in, and the AIS. This is, I guess, post-air. Your air filter goes here, goes into a compartment where it draws a little air off, and then it has to go back around in there, so it's catching a little bit in here. If you take your AIS off, do not forget to block this. Otherwise, this is a direct port to your throttle body motor setup that will suck in dirt past the air filter. For our testing, we're just going to block it off like this, on and off, and I'll show you. Okay, this is basically how the fuel controller is going to come set up from us. It's going to be for an exhaust tip with the fuel controller only. Basically, the only mod's the exhaust tip. I had it set a little bit richer because it was liking it just a little bit richer than the way we would have sent it. But it would have been a 4, 1.5, 1 out of the box from us. The exhaust tip and the stock exhaust really doesn't change the air to fuel ratio that much. I'm going to do a little zoom in if hopefully you can follow it without it shaking around too much when the bike's going. You can see this is a fresh Grizzly, 10 miles on it. I mean, it's about as virgin as they get when I get to get them hold of them. Okay. Air to fuel ratio is over there. It's reading 17.7, 18.4 right now. Like I said, where our sniffer is, we don't get the greatest results. That's actually with the fuel controller on there. We would have better results if we had the sniffer up in a little farther. Okay, this, let me resume here. Okay, block that off. Doesn't really change anything if you can see it. It's, you know, dropping it just a little bit versus on at idle. You know, it's kind of the same with both, between 1 point air to fuel. Okay, let me get it in gear. I'm going to do some zooming and just tell you guys what I'm doing so you can see it. Okay, this is with the fuel controller and the AIS open. Maintaining pretty good air to fuel ratios. Okay, let me shut the fuel controller off now. Okay, we're just basically shutting off the green mode, which is where we're testing it. Okay. Same test, AIS open. Red is bad. Red is lean. Here, hold this again, Steve. Let's zoom in on me, blocking that up, and then go back over there to the air to fuel ratio. Above a quarter throttle and 8 throttle where it's really lean, it still really isn't doing that much. So we're going to cut that video short, put some duals on it, show you how it sounds.